strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Bulldog here, and we got some very interesting news on the town hall today. Of course, there was some eye candy, all sorts of other things. It was not just this, but there is one piece of information that I really wanted to talk about, really wanted to cover, and that is that Splinterlands is working with a separate game developer, a separate game studio, who is going to be developing a new game to put on the Splinterlands platform. And this is something that Hardpoint was talking about and is clearly very, very excited about. And there are all sorts of reactions today. We unfortunately don't have a ton of information there. I think this is just in the very early stages. We don't know what studio it is. We don't know what type of game it is. Hardpoint talked about how he was excited about the ability to potentially bring Splinterlands assets utility into other games, be able to use Splinterlands assets in other games. Is it going to use the Splinterlands tokens like Dark Energy Crystals, Splinter Shards? I don't know. There is so much unknown here that it's hard to really give a great reaction to, but that doesn't stop us from speculating, right? That doesn't stop us from speculating. So my first reactions are this. First off, as a Splinterlands asset holder, I feel like this can only be a positive thing. Because if these Splinterlands assets or tokens can be used in other games, that is going to drive up their value. If they have increased utility, value is going to go up. As somebody that holds a lot of Splinterlands assets, that's something that I like. If the game doesn't do well, then okay, I don't necessarily see it hurting Splinterlands, other than being a potential missed opportunity. If they're trying to do deals like this in the future and one of them failed, that's going to make things more difficult. But in terms of just kind of looking at things in a vacuum as things are now, I don't think if this doesn't go well that it's going to drive values down or anything like that. So I only seeing it being a positive from there. Because this is a separate game studio, it's not going to take away any of the Splinterlands developers and anything like that. Yes, some of the higher ups are probably going to be working on a certain deal. I don't know everything that goes into it. They've obviously got to work on the economy, on some of the back end stuff as far as the blockchain goes. All that stuff is way above my head, so it's not like it's going to use zero resources from Splinterlands. But as far as like the main development team working on the actual game in Splinterlands, developing the app, developing land, those types of things, it's not pulling anything from there. So I look at this as as an asset holder, it can only be a positive thing. And this could be absolutely huge for Splinterlands. Because I've said this in the past, I believe that there are going to be some big time companies that emerge in blockchain gaming. That blockchain gaming right now is kind of like it's like the .com bubble that we had in the 90s or whenever that was. That a lot of those companies failed, right? A lot of those companies failed. A lot of the blockchain games that are developing right now, a lot of these companies are going to fail. But there are going to be there are going to be some, I shouldn't say a ton, there's going to be some that emerge like Amazon emerged from the .com. The .com bubble, that eBay emerged from all those big name companies came out. Some of the tech that we kind of take for granted as normal things was developed then and emerged throughout that time. So there are going to be some big time winners that come out of this, and I believe that a lot of those are going to be publishers and those that have multiple games on their platform. And we're seeing there's a couple other companies that are starting to do this. It's exciting to see that Splinterlands is joining those ranks, and this can really build up Splinterlands as a company. Not only doing this once, but again, if they can do it once, and then they can establish that hey, other games can come and jump on the Splinterlands back end and with the blockchain and all of that, and that can work. That's going to attract more games, and you can potentially see this snowball and get bigger and bigger, right? Because plenty of games have found out that it's not easy to just go develop a good game and put it on blockchain. So many people are like, well, why are so many of the blockchain games are crappy and terrible? Why don't we just get some good games that exist on on AAA platforms and are on your consoles and your Xbox and your PlayStation games. Take games like that and then just move it over and put it on the blockchain. It's so easy to do. Like, it's the equivalent to just, okay, I've got a game on Xbox, let's just move it over and put it on the PC. It doesn't necessarily work like that. Developing a play to earn blockchain game is much more difficult than some of these companies have realized. So if Splinterlands can basically act like a publisher and provide the blockchain backend, provide the economy to these games, and then you can have other companies go out and make cool games, make great games, and not have to worry about the blockchain aspect, that makes a lot of sense. There's going to be a great market for that. So if this can work, this can give a ton of upside to Splinterlands as a company. And then what does that mean for Splinterlands asset holders? Well, worst case scenario, it just brings extra publicity to Splinterlands, right? Which brings more people into the game, which is good. Best case scenario is some of these games utilize Splinterlands assets or utilize SPS or whatever the case is. We've got people buying licenses to eventually run nodes for SPS, right? Wouldn't it be cool if those nodes could also generate rewards for all of these other games that Splinterlands could be a part of publishing? And that could kind of be a part of being in the Splinterlands system, is if you have these node operators that are providing value with that SPS, and you're utilizing that SPS tokens, that you also have to add some of your own in-game rewards to that, and that can, I don't know if that's how it's going to work or not, but that's just something that I could see happening and provides value into the Splinterlands ecosystem. So there are so many directions that this can go, and again, we know very, very little, so it's hard to say what will happen or what could happen. But it's mainly all excitement here. Now I do have some concerns about how this could work too, because a lot of people have preached about a potential use case for blockchain gaming in general is interoperability. As I struggle to say that word, but being able to use Splinterlands assets in a new game. That is great for Splinterlands, people who currently hold Splinterlands assets. But my concern is increasing that value might be a negative for somebody coming into the game. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm down on this idea or anything like this. I'm fully excited about this idea, but just kind of playing devil's advocate and looking at some possible negatives here. If you want to go play this new game, whatever it is, whether it's an RPG, a shooter, whatever the case it is, we don't know. But if you want to go get into that game, and if you need Splinterlands assets, like without knowing the genre, it's hard to say what that could be. But if there's a significant advantage to having those Splinterlands assets, and a player would want to go buy those cards, it's excited as a Splinterlands player that owns those cards. But if you're jumping in and buying those, it could kind of stink if you have to pay elevated prices because the card is useful in Splinterlands if you don't play Splinterlands. Or vice versa. Let's say this other game is a huge hit and the price of some of the Splinterlands cards goes up because they are very good in this new game. Well, that would kind of stink as a Splinterlands player who doesn't own that card but maybe wants to go buy that card, that, okay, the card actually isn't that great in Splinterlands, but its price is extremely high because it's good in this other game. I still want it for Splinterlands because I want to use it some, but I don't want to pay this elevated price to get this card. Does that make sense? And again, maybe that's not a valid criticism. We don't know how everything's going to work, how everything is going to link together. Maybe the Splinterlands assets can just act as skins in the new game, and they're not required for the new game, but it's just kind of a cool feature for things going back and forth and something like that. I don't know. There are so many different routes, so many different ways that they can take this. So I can't be critical overall, but I'm just saying it might not be all positives, that there can be some negative things that come along with it. But most of the negatives I see are for new players coming into the game. As an existing Splinterlands asset holder, it's hard for me to see this being a negative. I mean, it's not like nothing could go wrong, but I feel like worst case is we come back to where we are. I feel like things are really, it can only help. So that's why I'm personally excited. Obviously, as a Splinterlands employee, the idea of Splinterlands becoming a bigger company and more successful company is appealing to me too. So that excites me. So I'm very, very excited to see how this all works out. And I'm very curious to see what the community reaction to this is, because again, for those that already own assets, the only one negative that I expect is people are going to be concerned about it taking away development time from Splinterlands, and they say that's going to be very minimal because it's an outside studio that's working on the main game. I expect that to be very minimal. Yes, there's going to be some work from the higher ups as far as those contract negotiations and that work on the whether it's the economy or the back end. I don't know exactly what Splinterlands is going to be providing and all of the details there. So yeah, there probably will be some takeaway, but I expect it to be fairly minimal. Splinterlands has a fairly large team now, so adding a little bit to the plate of some of the higher ups, or maybe if they hire more people in there, whatever the case is, I expect that to be very minimal. So that's not a personal concern of mine, but I wonder if the community is going to. That's going to be something that they latch on to, because the community, there's always people that'll find the negative, right, and will complain about things, especially those who are upset with how slow features are coming to Splinterlands. Not that things are coming slow, but for example, they said Modern Wild's going to be in June. Now they're saying that's pushed back to July, so things are getting pushed back, and they're not coming slowly, but they're not coming as quickly as was initially expected. So I expect there might be some people that blame these types of things. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'm very curious to see what the reaction to this is. What are the predictions? Do you have any predictions on what game studio it will be? Do you have any predictions what type of game it will be? I don't know. I'm curious to see what everything is, because that could determine how successful it is as well, and what type of games we're going to get. I'm really hoping it's a type of game that I enjoy. So if these assets are useful or whatever the case is, that I can jump over and play, and it's not a type of game that I don't necessarily care about, or whatever types of games there are. So I'm hoping it's something that is fun to play and that's streamable. As a streamer, I want it to be streamable, right? So I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. I can't wait. They say the other thing that I should mention. They said that they are going to be bringing this game studio onto the town hall. They're going to be coming to the community and soliciting feedback on what types they want input from us in developing this game. They want the Splinterlands community to be very, very involved in this. So I'm hoping as community manager that I get to play a role here and can kind of interact and help bridge the community with this new game studio and help collect feedback and find out what you guys want. So I'm excited about that part as well. So make sure you guys stay tuned. They said in the coming weeks there's going to be more information. So be on the lookout for that. Be ready to participate. Come to some of these town halls, and maybe you'll get some of this info and get to have your voice heard. So that's part of what blockchain gaming is all about, right? The community's voice being heard, and they're going to make sure that is a part of this as well. So anyways, thank you guys so much. That's enough for me. Let me know your thoughts. I will see you around.